All right, I am going to go over my expectations for the project for this DLD day. Just make sure that you have taken the DLD attendance check quiz, and then I will be going over the video that I'm going to add to this video page here. So you should already be there if you are watching this video, and I'm going to go over this assignment right here. I have the project linked right here for what you're working on for day 2. We will have gone over the project this week already, so just you're picking up after day 1 with day 2. Just a reminder, you are not going to get day 2 of work time in the building in class. So day 2 should really be taken care of over the DLD time, and you should probably work on your project for somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour would be my expectation. Alright, so for project day 2, I have given you this list of things to consider, and if you have questions, of course, you can ask those questions when we get back to class following the DLD, or message me on Canvas. So what you're doing during the DLD is starting to create your project. Last block during project day 1, we made a list of all of the things that you'd like to include in your project, so hopefully you have that handy. We also hopefully have approved kind of how you're going to go about completing this project. There are a couple different ways you can utilize your time during project day 2, so I'll just go over kind of the ways that students typically tackle this project in the classroom. First, they will start writing whatever it is that they're producing for the project. My advice for you would be to label everything as you go. It is really tricky if you wait on the labeling until the end. Some students like to go slow, label, and explain the devices as they go. Others like to label things and then they assume they'll go back and finish the labeling when they get done. Do remember that you do have to explain the devices, you have to explain the modes as you use them, and you have to explain the fallacies. You do not need to explain the tone word if you're just using it in a sentence. Sometimes students like to write in a certain tone, and in that point you may just kind of want to explain how that part of the text goes over that tone. Again, if you have questions, ask, because typically students with questions end up losing points because they didn't get those questions answered. So this is one that you want to make sure you're doing well. Again, I cannot stress enough, do not wait until the end to put everything together. Make sure that you label things as you go. Another thing that I would suggest, some students like to get in all the devices first, then the modes, then the tone words, and the fallacies. However you want to do it, you can mix it up as you go. Check things off your list as you go. It's always rough at the end if students are trying to count things up, or maybe you just forget a couple because you just weren't keeping an eye on it. So make sure that you check things off as you go. I would say if you have a list, your list should be 35 things total with your devices, your modes, your tone words, and your fallacies. I would say over the DLD, I would try to get 17 to 18 things locked into my project. So for instance, that could be all the devices. There are 18 of them. I put them in there, and it's your choice if you want to go to the level of putting them in and explaining them. You have to do that for the project. Some students just like to label things and go back at the end. You can kind of see how long that takes you. If you are not getting anything done over the DLD, again, it's just going to kind of pile up on you next week. So please try to jump into the project. Let me know if you have questions about the project. You will get one more day of in-class work time before we move on. So please make sure that for project day 3, you are ready to work and get your questions answered and your projects checked, because we are going to move on to our next unit the following day. You'll still have time to work on your project at home, but we will not have much more class time. Again, let me know if you have any questions about the project during the DLD through Canvas messaging.